entrepreneurial journey has been a wild one, as it is for most people. And last week I shared a lot of the advice and lessons I would have given to my younger self when I was first getting started as an entrepreneur. And you can check out that video here and here. And thank you so much for all of the amazing, in-depth, kind comments on that video. It was really fun to read through them. And I thought this would be cool to do as a follow-up, which is essentially sharing the 5 fundamental strategies that I use to get to the first million in my business. I remember every stage of my business really clearly and how it felt and how overwhelming it felt at times. And to be sitting here today and to have experienced the rapid growth over the last couple of years in particular to get to now an 8-figure business, I feel like these 5 fundamental strategies still play a key part. No matter how much the business has grown, I still lean on these every single day, and they help me stay consistent and they help me stay focused. If that's something you're excited about, hit that like button and help us reach more people in the algorithm. This channel is totally dedicated to reverse engineering entrepreneurial success and making entrepreneurship available to everyone. So a small thing you can do is just hit the like button, be sure to subscribe for new videos every week. Now, I remember vividly when I hit that first million, it was in my fiscal year between 2016 and 2017, and I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I now had a 7-figure business. It was happening. And I realized that up until that point, it felt like I was kind of like in the wash cycle in a washing machine. And then I finally just sort of settled. And I found my foundation, my balance, my core. And I realized that growing the business from there was not about adding more things. And honestly, growth came out of simplicity and subtraction. And I really do say that a lot, and I believe it, that subtraction leads to success. So these 5 fundamental strategies, like I said, still play a big factor in my business to this day, and they are a core of how to grow a business that feels healthy, peaceful, and sustainable. So these are the 5 strategies that we're gonna go into today. Number 1 is creating scale. Number 2 is metrics that matter. Number 3 is investing forward. Number 4 is outsourcing. And number 5 is embracing uncertainty. So number 1 is creating scale. So my journey to becoming an entrepreneur, I started as a journalist. I then became a social media consultant and freelancer. And then I dove into and fell into this whole online world. I was working as a freelancer for about 4 or 5 years, and I was paid on a one-to-one basis. I was paid by the hour. And when I talk about creating scale, this was a key component to being able to grow my business because it allowed me to detach my time from my income. You only have so many hours in the day. If you're working with clients one-to-one or you're doing one-to-one services, you're essentially trading your time for your money. So inevitably, you're gonna run out of time and you're gonna hit an income ceiling. And I realized that very quickly. It led me to being super burnt out, super exhausted. In order to create a truly scalable business, the key really is that your expenses stay where they are, but your profit continues to grow. Your revenue continues to grow. And it doesn't require more of your time, more of your energy, and most importantly, it doesn't require more resources to grow. So there were 2 very key factors in creating scale in my business. I started with YouTube, which I fell into accidentally, and I realized very quickly that it was an incredible platform and medium to continue to reach people without doing any extra work. Because YouTube is a search engine and it's owned by Google, which is the largest search engine in the world, you are set up for success. With every video that you create, we think about them as little evergreen sales machines and evergreen lead machines, because every video you create is then placed into the algorithm, and YouTube then uses its internal traffic sources to push that video to the right people and to be discovered in search by the right people. So those videos are all out there in the world working for me day in and day out, which allows me to detach my time from income. When you look at a different platform, like let's say Instagram, for example, the shelf life of an Instagram post is quite short. So it works for you in the immediate future, but it stops working after a while. Whereas YouTube videos, I have videos that are like 4 or 5 years old that still generate quality traffic and leads for me every single day that turn into clients. And again, that's not requiring any more time or resources from me. The next piece of that was when I really discovered this online world and I discovered the power of YouTube, I realized that there was this huge need for online education, and the online education space is booming. And so I decided, okay, instead of just repeating my strategies over and over again and working one-to-one with all of these clients, what if I was able to package my knowledge, my expertise, and my strategies into an online course? Because I had so much demand from people when I started sharing my content online that I just physically couldn't work with all these people. And I wasn't really at a place where I wanted to hire anybody to help me. I kind of wanted to stay solo at the time. So I packaged my knowledge into an online course. And since then, that is really what has created such rapid growth in my business. Not even just in terms of income, but in terms of impact, because my clients now don't have to wait for me or my time to get the results and the transformation that they're looking for, because they can study it at their own pace. And then I'm there obviously to support and provide guidance if needed. So YouTube and online course creation, those two things combined really allowed me to detach my time from income. And I have a whole playlist on how to create an online course that sells, and you check that out in the description below. But that really is the first key strategy, all about creating scale. Number 2, metrics that matter. If I didn't study our numbers in my business every single morning, I would not be where I am today. I say that with the utmost confidence and certainty, because for a long time, I shied away from numbers. I shied away from analytics. I felt like I wasn't good with numbers. And it was really just a way to sort of self-sabotage my own success and growth. And the more that I fell in love with knowing my numbers and knowing the metrics in the business, the more growth I was able to see and the more I was able to control the growth, because I knew what was working and I knew what wasn't working. And so this is the very first thing I do every single day when I wake up, and it puts my mind at ease and it allows me to sustain and create consistency in the business. And it's why our business is wildly consistent month over month and year over year, and we don't experience a ton of peaks and valleys. So what are the metrics that I look at every single day? These are them. Number 1 is traffic. How much traffic are we accumulating on a daily basis? How many leads is that turning into for the business? And how many clients are actually enrolling out of those leads? From there, how many client results are we getting? Is the program working? Are we creating transformations? Because without proof and credibility and results for your program or your offer, you don't have a sustainable business. So that's huge. The next thing is, what is the revenue that we're generating? In addition to that, how much cash are we actually collecting on a daily basis? Because there's a difference between revenue and actual cash in the business. If somebody buys a $500 product, but they pay on a payment plan, you have $500 of revenue, but you have $250 of actual cash collected, which is very important to know to be very on top of your finances so you can grow. And then finally, how much profit do we have? So after all expenses, how profitable is the business, and how can we use that profit to create runway, a safety net, and the ability to have a safety blanket as we want to scale and invest back in the business. Knowing my numbers, like I said, put me in the driver's seat, and it allowed me to not be a passive part of my business anymore. And it was a really big key to getting to that first million and truly continuing to grow beyond that. Those metrics don't change, and they really are the keys to that level of growth. And what it does for me is it allows me to make decisions from a really clear place, because I know exactly what is going on in our financial picture, and I know exactly what is necessary to invest in and what we can and what we need to maybe hold off on, or maybe what isn't necessary, because there's things that we can do internally to fix things instead of maybe hiring out or outsourcing or anything like that. And the other thing that my metrics really taught me were that the biggest thing that matters in your business is profit. Revenue really doesn't matter, because if your expenses are $100,000 a month and you're bringing in $100,000 a month, you're breaking even. You're not actually creating profit and sustainability in the business moving forward. So your profit allows you to create, as I mentioned earlier, that runway. And runway is, if the business shuts down tomorrow, how much do you have in the bank to be able to pay for your expenses, pay for a team if you have one, and keep you afloat until you figure out how to get more cash in the bank. It is the thing that allows you peace of mind when your head hits the pillow at the end of the night, in growing any business. And what it also really did for me to know my numbers was it allowed me to realize what was working the best and to double down on those activities so that I wasn't trying to do everything. It really simplified the business. And I shared in a recent video about how to monetize yourself and the 6 business models. You can check it out here and here. I shared that 98% of our revenue and profit is coming from my online program, and 2% is coming from other activities like affiliates and AdSense and brand deals and all that stuff. So knowing what was working the best and knowing how to grow that and sustain it has helped us create that level of consistency. Number 3, this is a biggie, and it's really tough for a lot of people, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. Investing forward. So what I mean by this is when I first became an entrepreneur, I had no idea how much it was gonna cost, and that there are a lot of expenses that can add up quite quickly. And I used to have this mindset where I felt like I was just throwing money out the window when I was investing in things. Like, we went from this organic strategy that really built the business, as I talked about earlier. We really used YouTube and social media and email marketing to grow our business without ever spending money on advertising. But once we got to a certain point, I realized, okay, we have a very credible product and we should be investing in paid advertising to be able to impact more people and reach more people. So spending money on paid ads was a whole hurdle for me because it felt like I was throwing money away. And what I quickly realized is that it was actually moving the needle forward. It was investing forward. And I also had to look at things like buying equipment and investing in software and up-leveling the tools that we use in the business as an opportunity to move forward and to create more growth as opposed to losing money. And this comes up all the time. Like I said, we had a very organic strategy for a long time, and most of our revenue still comes organically, which means free traffic. We have gone from spending $10 a day on ads at the very beginning to we now spend anywhere between $500 to $1,500 a day on ads in the business, which is a big investment when you really add it up and you think about it. And so that was one key thing. And recently my laptop of 7 years, which I loved and had duct taped together, it broke on me and just died. So I had to get a new laptop. And then my camera recently broke. The monitor completely fell off and cracked. And so I had to get that fixed. And that was a couple $1,000s. So there's always gonna be things, whether it's planned or unplanned, there are investments and expenses in your business, no matter what. So how do you invest forward and how do you shift that to be a strategy that can actually work for you? And one of the ways I was able to do that is actually through the sponsor of today's video. This is very full circle because I switched to BMO when I was rapidly growing my business because I wanted to work with a bank that really respected entrepreneurs, valued them, and supported them in all the right ways. And this is gonna sound so naive, but when I first was getting started in my business, I didn't really realize that you could actually earn rewards and points and really see the benefit of spending on things you need in your business. And so they have the BMO World Elite Small Business Credit Card. And the beauty of this is whether I am fueling up with gas to go to a meeting or I am investing in new gear and equipment for shooting videos or working in the business, or I'm just spending on my internet or cell phone bill, which is high because I'm an online business, I'm earning 4 BMO rewards points for every dollar spent. And then I earn 1.5 rewards points for any dollar spent outside of those items. And that adds up over time, especially when you are spending thousands of dollars a day on things like ads. I'm then able to use those rewards points to reinvest into things that really matter. Plus they get it and they make it really easy because even picking the right credit card can feel like a very overwhelming decision. So they waived the first year's annual fee, which is the value of $149. Expenses add up quickly and it's just a reality of running a business. And like I said earlier, it's all about knowing that you're investing forward and that you're not just throwing money out the window, because sometimes it can feel that way, especially when you're getting started and you're not seeing big revenue and big profit. So a huge advantage to this credit card is that in the first 3 months, if you spend $5,000, you get 50,000 points. And you get an additional 20,000 points if you spend $35,000 in the first 12 months, which is pretty feasible when you're starting a business. The fourth strategy is outsourcing, and this can also feel extremely daunting, and I have been there. I didn't know who to hire, when to hire, what to do. And now I have an amazing team and I love them so dearly. But when I was first getting started, it was trying to figure out where do I actually start and who should that first hire be. And I can tell you, in working with thousands of entrepreneurs and now going through it myself and having a team for as long as I have, the best first hire is really for that administrative, busy work, because that's a natural part of running a business. You're going to get bogged down in these sort of must-dos in order to keep things running along in the operations, but that isn't always what you should be focused on as the founder. So a big activity that I did in order to figure out how to outsource and the strategy behind it, and I still do this to this day, is I regularly do time audits. And I really look at how am I spending my time every single day? And am I prioritizing the things that I really have to do and that nobody else can do? And if I'm not, I'm actually not benefiting the business or my team because I am getting bogged down in the work that isn't pushing the needle forward. And I'm ultimately creating a little bit of a plateau. So outsourcing is massively important and played a huge part in being able to get to that $1 million mark. And it's not like I needed a big team. I really needed to hire one person who could take a lot of that admin stuff off my plate. So the first thing to do is to really recognize on a daily basis, what am I doing? And how much of that could I use help with? Things like your calendar, scheduling meetings, getting the right Zoom link. All of those things add up. Posting to social media, creating content, creating graphics, editing videos, the things that you don't need to be doing and that are revenue generating activities. And so another thing to keep in mind here is I have 4 daily priorities, and these are the only things that I focus on every day, and everything else is now outsourced. So those 4 daily priorities to focus on are, number 1 is sales. Are you actually bringing in clients? Are you generating revenue? So often, I don't know why this happens, people put that at the bottom of the list when it needs to be at the top. Sales run a business. If your business isn't making money, you don't have a business. So sales is number 1. Number 2 is quality control, making sure that you have the best product and offer on the market and you're really intently listening to feedback. Number 3 is social proof. Like I said earlier, client results drive and sustain a business. So are you getting results? Are your clients happy? Are they unhappy? What can you tweak? What can you evolve? And making sure that you're collecting that proof that what you do works really well, because that leads to more sales. And number 4 is profitability. Like I said earlier, it's vitally important to your peace of mind as an entrepreneur. And so making sure that you're keeping a close eye on your expenses and on how profitable you are. And number 5 is embracing uncertainty. This strategy might sound a little woo-woo, but it has been something that I still really have to focus on and maintain every single day. Because what I realized is, like I said, I've been through this, but I also work with so many entrepreneurs on a daily basis at so many different levels in their businesses. I have seen a pattern that you start and you are this hungry solopreneur, you're so driven, you're doing everything, you're learning everything, and then you become this intermediate entrepreneur and you have social proof, you have credibility, you have an offer that's working, you have maybe your first hire, and then you become the CEO, you have a team, you're really focused in your genius zone, and then you become the owner. And when you're an owner, you're at a place where the whole business can kind of run without you. That's an amazing place to be, but at the same time, every part of the journey is vitally important. And I always say new level, new devil, because there are new hurdles and roadblocks at every single stage. And a big piece of embracing uncertainty is knowing that you cannot control what you cannot control, and you can only control what you can control. So like I said, the metrics and how you show up, the people around you. You can't control people, but you can control the energy, the culture, and the values of the team you build around you, and also who is in your personal circle, which has been very important. And I am all about quality over quantity, because you kind of are like an athlete as an entrepreneur. You have to show up as your best and your healthiest version of yourself in order to really be there for the business and for the people that are keeping the business going and for the clients that need you. A part of this was really around, investing in things like therapy, because I needed to keep my mental health in check. And I've had issues with burnout and anxiety, and I really needed to learn how to maintain my well-being in order to be the best version of myself for my team and my clients and as the business grew. I've said this before, I said it last week, that entrepreneurship is one of the best practices in self-awareness, and it will show you your demons and it will show you your strengths. And you have to be willing to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses and to work on the things that aren't serving you anymore. And when you reach every new level, there's gonna be things that you have to release and let go of, personally and professionally. Knowing that I had that support was really important, and also really investing, not financially, but investing into relationships around me that felt like they were quality, supportive, and uplifting to also keep me in a place of high vibration and positivity and abundance. And a big piece of this for me is really maintaining a positive and optimistic mindset regardless of what's going on around me. So doing things like TM meditation, I do that every single day. I did a course a few years ago and it has been a game changer for me. So that's TM meditation. It's a very specific kind. And another big part of my mindset, which is why I created this separate channel, is affirmations. I knew that I had to reprogram my brain in a lot of ways around my money mindset, around how I thought about myself and my self-worth. And so that's why it was really a labor of love for me to create an entire affirmations channel, which thank you for all the kind comments and DMs I've gotten about it, because it's apparently helping a lot of you. So you can check that out in the description below as well. But I think the biggest thing to really talk about when it comes to embracing uncertainty is that you are your biggest asset, especially when you're running a business. If you're not healthy and you're not well, then nothing else is going to really feel healthy or like it's going to last. And I'm all about building a legacy business, which means it's built to outlast you. And in order to do that, you really have to be okay, be still, be at peace, be present. And of course, you're gonna have days when that's not the case. But for the most part, trying to stay even keel so you don't get knocked around by the emotions and the ups and downs is so important. So investing in yourself and understanding and embracing and surrendering to the uncertainty, but knowing that you're okay regardless, is the best strategy that you can use above all else. The rest of the stuff, yes, it's tactical, but this, so important. I will never in a million years say that entrepreneurship is easy, because it is certainly not. It is a journey and you really gotta be up for it, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I would love to know what your takeaways are and what helped you from this video. And I was thinking about maybe making a video that was like more tactics driven in the steps I would actually take to get to my first million. So let me know in the comments if that would be helpful for you. But I really appreciate you being here. And like I said, the whole mission of this channel is to demystify entrepreneurship and get real about it, and also make it available to everyone. So a small thing you can do to support that is hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe for new videos every week, and be sure to check out this video next. I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.